Weeks of relentless rain had turned the forest floor into a soaked, crumbling mess, sweeping away the rotting leaves and food sources the wild boars once relied on. With their shelters compromised and bellies empty, they had no choice. They stormed toward nearby villages in search of food. What followed was not just hunger, it was destruction. Fields were trampled, crops were devastated, the peaceful lives of locals thrown into chaos. Recognizing this threat, we knew we couldn't stand by. This wasn't just a hunt, it was a mission. We packed up and hit the road. The goal? Defend the land and restore balance. After miles of rough roads, we finally arrived at the designated hunting zone. The hounds wasted no time. Their noses caught the scent, and their barking shattered the silence of the woods. We moved fast, closing in. There it was. I took aim, locked in, and squeezed the trigger. The bullet ripped through the morning air. One shot, one drop. Our first takedown. It marked the start of a challenging but determined pursuit ahead. Deeper into the forest we moved, terrain thickening, tension rising. Soon enough, the hounds struck again. With trained precision, they pinned down another target. It was my cue. I raised the rifle close range. The crack of the shot was sharp and final. Another clean takedown. It was more than just a kill. It was a statement. We were in control now. The complex terrain forced us into a more defensive formation. Time passed, then shadows appeared, more of them, creeping in from all directions. I adjusted the scope, locked onto a target, and fired. Direct hit. The remaining beasts scattered in panic. I sent the signal. Teams moved into position. Shots rang out across the forest like thunder. Each one a mark of precision and coordination. The chaos was contained. We held the line. We swept the area. Something didn't feel right. Every sense was on high alert. I listened to the wind, to the whispers of the forest. Then came the smell of the pungent musk of a boar and the sound, faint but certain. Target identified. I moved like clockwork. One bullet, cold and calculated, sealed the fate of another beast. With no hesitation, we pressed on. More threats to eliminate, more ground to defend. Deep in the woods where shadows blend with tangled branches, I found myself in prime position. Quiet, hidden, alert. I crept into an area known for heavy boar traffic. Suddenly, movement. A flash of dark fur cut through the trees. I locked on. The shot was swift, ruthless, final. Out here, survival belongs to those who stay sharp. One heartbeat separates the hunter from the hunted. With the tension still running high, I refocused. Every step was calculated, every breath steady. Then came the dogs howling, closing in on another target. This was it. I moved in. One more shot, precise and merciless. As the woods returned to silence, the lesson lingered. Success isn't just about firepower, it's about preparation, teamwork, and unwavering focus. The battle ended, but the fire in our hearts, that burns on. At the foot of the majestic snow-capped mountains of Turkey, the wild boars kept moving relentlessly, undeterred by the freezing winter, destroying the highland fields and making life even harder for the locals. Faced with this urgent situation, we, the professional hunters, not only had to confront the savage beasts, but also battle the harsh weather conditions. Can we stop this devastation? The answer will soon be revealed. The hunting vehicle rolled forward, taking us straight to today's hunting spot. Upon arrival, after assessing the terrain, I chose a vantage point with a clear line of sight. Adjusting the scope and preparing to wait for the target to appear, a dark shape began to emerge on the opposite snow slope. Seizing the opportunity, a shot rang out, but the power of the animal was truly impressive. Despite being hit, it still tried to find an escape route. Quickly closing the distance, I was taken aback by its size. It must be over 200 kilograms. Taking aim, my finger squeezed the trigger. Another shot rang out, ending its rampage and bringing peace back to the area. The joy was short-lived, when suddenly, the hunting dog's barks pierced the air, louder and more urgent than usual. Sensing something unusual, I immediately sprinted toward the sound. The dogs had caught wind of something, and they were never wrong. Rushing to intercept, I took aim at the vital spot. Headshot! A perfect finishing blow, bringing everything to a close with complete control. After the loud explosions, the wild boars grew increasingly panicked, hiding deeper in the thicker bushes below. Following the slope of the hill, I patiently scanned every hidden corner with binoculars, missing no movement. There it was. It was lurking among the dry branches. The opportunity was here, and I steadied my rifle, squeezing the trigger. Quick, precise shot, and the prey dropped immediately. While I was focused on the prey in front of me, other lone targets had already sensed our presence. Without hesitation, I signaled Finn, who was positioned to the left. Upon receiving the signal, he immediately went into high alert. As soon as he spotted the target, a series of precise maneuvers rang out in time, successfully halting their escape. That seamless coordination allowed us to maintain the upper hand in every critical moment. After that perfect finish, we quickly brought in a few more spoils. Continuing up the nearby hill, we swept the area. The wild boars had appeared, scattered in groups and a few solitary ones hiding everywhere, making the chase more difficult. Following the remaining tracks on the snow, we gradually closed the distance to our prey. Soon after, a series of shots rang out in the still air. The pursuit temporarily came to an end, reaffirming our dominance over this land once again.
Hold it up.
The weather grew colder by the minute, but fate seemed unwilling to close the chapter just yet. The wild boars were still scattered around the area, like stubborn phantoms in the midst of the white snow. Not allowing them any chance to turn the tide, we were determined to prevent any possible turn of events. As time passed, one by one, Each boar fell, lying motionless on the white snow. On these hills, there is a ruler, wild boars. Agile, fierce, and intimately familiar with the terrain, they turn every bush into a fortress and every slope into a life-or-death challenge. Facing them, luck alone won't cut it. It takes strategy, teamwork, and those split-second decisive shots when the stakes are at their highest. Join us as we embark on this hunt. Get ready, because this hunt is not for the faint of heart. The thicket is the wild boar's domain, where they use the terrain to hide and strike with lightning speed. Visibility is limited, and danger lurks at every turn. To break their advantage, we rely on our highly trained four-legged warriors, honed to perfection. The whole team is focused, following the carefully laid out hunting plan. By midday, we follow the sound of the hounds barking, guiding us toward the dry thicket ahead. When spotted, the wild boar attempts to escape, but the clever hounds have already closed in, cutting off every possible exit. With no other option, the beast charges straight toward the barrels of the waiting rifles, bringing an end to the chase. A perfect pincer move between man and his four-legged companions. What do you think, brothers? The deep, wide footprints pressed into the earth guide David straight into the sparse woods to the east. His rifle slowly rises, each breath becoming quicker, as if signaling the decisive moment is near. Then, as dark shadows charge forward in frenzy, the sharp crack of the gunfire rings out in response. Even the craftiest boar, hiding in the reeds, cannot escape its fate when the final bullet finds its mark. This is not a massacre. This is the way to restore peace to the land. Not far off, following the deep, mournful howl, like a trumpet announcing the final call, James moves deeper into the woods, where his four-legged companions have already fought and cornered the massive wild boar, leaving it with no escape. The howl is a confirmation. The hounds have completed their task, and the final decision now rests with me. My shot may be the one that ends the battle, but the true heroes of this fight are the hounds, whose teamwork and courage led the way. Leaving the thick underbrush of the old forest, our footsteps begin to lead us up the windy hillside. An open view now stretches before us, but with it comes the unpredictability of the terrain. The greatest enemy now is not the prey, but our own impatience. On the rocky hillside, the distinctive sharp scent in the wind betrays the boar's hiding place. As the boar dashes through the underbrush, John's eyes lock onto its every movement, his aim steady. The shot rings out the instant it fully emerges onto the slope. Only experience can turn that split-second moment into a perfect shot like this. As the evening shadows stretch long, we settle on the high hillside, offering a wide vantage point. When the target appears, a distant figure almost indistinguishable to the naked eye, David doesn't hesitate. The moment it enters his sights, he pulls the trigger. At what seemed like an impossible distance, the boar collapses on the spot. Even we, the witnesses, stand frozen for a moment in sheer disbelief. As the evening light fades over the hillside, I catch a subtle movement in the brush, signaling one last opportunity of the day. All my focus shifts to the scope, and at the very moment the boar relaxes, unaware, a single shot rings out, bringing an end to it all, marking the conclusion of a perfect, fulfilling hunt. Today's journey didn't just bring success, it fulfilled our responsibility to protect the harvest and preserve the peace for the people. Today, the harvest has been protected for another day. This battle is far from over, but we know that as long as we stand together, no danger will make us step back. The harvest season is approaching, but not every farmer is looking forward to it. Wild boars lurk silently, waiting for the perfect moment to surge onto the fields, tearing apart the hard-earned sweat of the farmers. The tracks left on the soil stand as undeniable proof of their brutal destruction. Nick's hunting team is geared up, bearing the heavy responsibility of protecting the crops and the livelihoods of the people. Will they succeed in stopping this looming disaster? Stay tuned for the moments ahead to find out. At the crack of dawn, Nick's team was already on site, boarding helicopters to head to the planned location. The choppers roared through the sky, revealing the chaotic scene below. The noise was so loud, it sent the wild boars into a panicked stampede. As soon as the pilots spotted the herd, they skillfully maneuvered to close in, positioning the animals perfectly for Nick to take his shots. One by one, gunshots rang out, flawlessly taking down each target. Their seamless coordination turned every escape route for the beasts into a dead end. This palace opening marked the beginning of today's fierce battle. Moving on to the neighborhood land, Nick's helicopter approached another group of wild boars. These boars were incredibly clever. The moment they heard the distant roar of the helicopter, they scattered, slipping into hidden spots out of sight. But Nick's precise shots left no room for escape, cracking each one relentlessly. In just a short time, the entire group was expertly subdued. One more threat eliminated, and another patch of land secured. The helicopter kept circling, scanning the land for any trace of the prey. Soon enough, another burst of gunfire echoed through the air. As the silhouette of the wild boars appeared, the pilot skillfully maneuvered the chopper closer, giving Nick a perfect shot. Seconds later, the marks of the battle were etched deep into the ground. The land was swiftly reclaimed from the claws of these fierce creatures. Meanwhile, over on the eastern hillside, James' hunting team quickly took formation, encircling the area. Just as James settled into position, he spotted a wild boar sprinting desperately to escape the hunting dog close behind. Without hesitation, rapid-fire shots rang out. In less than a minute, the beast was down, no chance to run another step. What do you think of this aerial ground teamwork? Impressive enough? Drop your thoughts in the comments. James pressed on relentlessly in the chase. After a while, he paused, raising his binoculars to scan the thick bushes sprawling across the hillside. There it was, a dark silhouette weaving through the foliage. Seizing the moment, he shouldered his rifle, took careful aim, and squeezed the trigger. A swift, precise shot brought down another target. Not stopping there, he pushed deeper into the dense thicket. Rifle in hand, eyes constantly scanning, ready for anything that might come his way. Suddenly, a wild boar dashed right across his line of sight, as if fleeing from some unseen threat. Without hesitation, a quick series of movements sealed off the boar's escape route. The first shot and the only one needed found its mark. Peace was restored to this patch of land, at least for today. Today's battle comes to a close here. Our sharpshooters have successfully extinguished a major threat to the local farmers.
As snow begins to fall, herds of wild boars venture out to forage, desperate to survive the harsh winter. It's at this moment they turn more ferocious than ever, ravaging crops and tearing up the land of local farmers. Hunters immediately set out, determined to halt their destruction. Coming up next are breathtaking pursuit scenes and gripping ambushes that will keep you glued to the screen. Join us to watch and pick the most unforgettable hunt. Early in the morning, John's hunting team swiftly gathered and drove their familiar vehicle up to the dense hillsides of Tajikistan. Upon arrival, the team quickly spread out to track down the wild boars. Within 5 minutes, through binoculars, a marksman spotted a herd of boars weaving through the thick bushes. Without hesitation, he locked onto the largest, fattest one in the group and pulled the trigger. The shot rang out, and the boar collapsed, tumbling down the hillside by momentum. The first precise shot echoed, signaling the start of the battle. Continuing the search for other targets, he strained his eyes to scan the opposite hillside. A lone wild boar trudged into view. Seizing the moment before it could disappear from sight, a gunshot rang out. The beast swiftly collapsed onto the dry grass. A precise shot, eliminating yet another potential threat. At another position, through binoculars, a marksman intently tracked every movement on the opposite hillside. There was a wild boar nearly blending into the dry branches. Choosing the optimal position and angle, he pulled the trigger. With just a single shot, the boar, unaware of what hit it, lay still among the dry bushes. Another threat was swiftly neutralized, restoring peace to yet another patch of land. At the same time, in the frigid, snow-covered mountains, another team of hunters had taken up positions surrounding the area. Leon and his teammates were on a trail, tracking signs of the wild boars. Suddenly, in the distance, the silhouettes of boars emerged, heading back to their lair. Two marksmen immediately took position, raising their rifles and waiting for the herd to appear. In less than a minute, the lead boar came into view, and a barrage of gunfire echoed through the forest. The lead boar collapsed onto the snow, while the rest scattered in panic. Determined not to let them escape, the hunters swiftly pursued, taking down a few more before the others vanished completely. A perfect ambush was unfolding at the edge of the forest. Through binoculars, the marksman was intently scanning when a wild boar suddenly darted across. Without hesitation, he pulled the trigger. The first shot struck the hind leg, instantly halting the beast. Despite its desperate attempt to flee, a rapid barrage of follow-up shots swiftly ended any hope of escape. At another position, through his scope, Leon spotted yet another wild boar hiding in the dense bushes on the opposite hillside. Without delay, a gunshot rang out, putting an end to the beast's final attempt to conceal itself. The threat was handled swiftly and precisely, leaving no room for error.
In the dead of night, an urgent call tore through the quiet for Thomas and Finn. Back home in Morocco, wild boars were on a rampage, tearing up fields and destroying fruit trees. The villagers, terrified and helpless, were at their wits' end. As dawn broke, two seasoned hunting teams immediately set out, fully equipped. They headed straight for the hotspots, not just on a hunt, but on a mission. Driven by courage and a fierce determination, they entered a battle to reclaim peace for their homeland. The first stop was Thomas's family's orange grove, a scene of devastation where the boars had been wreaking havoc night after night. The team worked with military precision, forming an unbreakable encirclement around the entire grove. They were on a mission. No beast would get out. The hounds were unleashed, their frantic bark signaling the start of the hunt. Within minutes, a ferocious chorus of barks erupted, pulling every eye to the sound. The hunters raised their weapons, their senses on high alert. Suddenly, a boar charged right in front of Thomas. In a flash, he took a shot, a quick and decisive action that ended its desperate run. The boar lay still, a testament to a perfectly executed ambush. Inside the garden, a small, tight-knit team was positioned, their senses on high alert for every movement and sound. Their coordinated efforts were flawless. The instant a boar emerged from its hiding spot, a rapid barrage of shots cut off its escape route for good. In quick succession, cheers of triumph rang out from other locations, signaling that another dangerous threat to Thomas's family garden had been neutralized. Meanwhile, Finn's hunting party had reached the southern hillside, a known hiding spot for the boars. Their wheels kicked up dust as they sped to the planned location, and the second they stopped, urgent footsteps moved to their positions. Just as Finn settled in, a wild boar shot across his path. He instantly opened fire, and the beast crumpled to the ground, its escape halted in its tracks. There was no time to inspect their kill. A new signal blared, and Finn raced toward the new location. Just a few hundred meters away, a herd of wild boars burst into view, running for their lives. Without a second thought, a furious round of gunfire erupted, relentlessly pursuing each one. A wave of sound ripped through the quiet as the animals dropped, their bodies strewn across the ground, marking the end of a fierce and brutal chase. As the sun climbed higher, the team decided to switch tactics, splitting up their forces to block off the entire hillside. It wasn't long before Finn's group successfully cornered a boar. The frenzied barking of the dogs created a chaotic scene as the boar desperately tried to escape, but its efforts were in vain. A series of shots rang out, successfully halting its desperate run. In every direction, other teams were having similar success, each victory another notch in their belts.
Bravo, yeah.
Down the rugged, bush-covered slope, a wild boar darted across James' path. Seizing the opportunity, James executed a series of lightning-fast maneuvers, taking the beast down in an instant. Its rampage was over for good. Cheers of joy erupted. Everyone's face was alight with satisfaction, proud to have protected their land from the destruction of these fierce monsters.